first of all, were those accusations true? Was it a racially based war, racially driven war between Northern Sudanese or Arab Sudanese and African Sudanese?
I think so. One thing that's super important to kind of bring to the forefront is that here in the US we think of things in terms of race. In other places we think of it in terms of tribes. We don't have racism per se in Africa, and the reason why I'm very careful with using that is because we're all black on the African continent, right? So we do have tribal conflicts. So race, what we would see here as problems of race exist in Africa, but they are problems of tribalism and they're issues of tribes as well. Now, that's not to say that racism doesn't exist, right? Because we do have lighter skinned people who are Africans looking down on darker skinned Africans. That completely exists. But at the end of the day, I think we all think of ourselves as Africans to a point. And so our problems aren't really based in race, but they're based in tribalism. And so now the issue that you're talking about is a bit of a complex one, especially for us as Sudanese, because our identity is a little bit jumbled. We have an identity crisis, and this is kind of a sore spot for us as well. And the reason why we have this identity crisis is because so Sudan, we do have Arab Sudanese. We have people who identify as Turkish. We obviously have the colorism issue that we spoke about previously on the podcast that you and I were on before. So we do have that colorism issue, and that leads people to try to self-identify as different. Although Sudan literally means land of the black, so we are all black people, you know. And so you have people who try to create this hierarchy based on different things. Okay, well, I'm not, purely African. I have Turkish blood running through me. I'm not purely African. I have Arab blood running through me. I'm not purely African. I have this kind of blood running through me. So we do have that, and we that does exist within our society, unfortunately. And that does create problems. Part of the issue is actually one of British colonialism. So when the British colonized Sudan, the top part of Sudan, which would be like the area where Khartoum is, the capital is, all the way up to the north, that part became very, very developed. The southern part of Sudan, unfortunately, which is now South Sudan, did not receive that same kind of development and that same kind of attention. So you have this issue of development that is now underlying these tribal issues that is now on top of this government that wants to purely identify as Arab and as nothing else other than that. And all of these just create the perfect storm for the conflict that we saw and that unfortunately caused our country to divide into two separate nations.